Jake?
Jake? Anyone?
No.
She brought those in.
I asked her if we could call her Jake.
She said they were the best videos. Let's see if we got this camera right. Good morning, everyone. I've got a few people watching. Make sure you put your questions over here in this sidebar for chat right here, and then I'll respond. But I'll check it every 5 minutes and see if there's anything to respond. So today I'm going to turn down music. How is it? Good. She said it was an Asian place that does boba tea and donuts. Spring Mountain and Rainbow.
Yeah, it's a little gooier than regular donut, but good.
That's good to hear. What flavor is it though?
And I'm trying to figure out, it almost tastes, what is that purple Asian?
Ube, they say.
Something like that, yeah. Kind of
It's like a yam, purple yam. That's sweet.
And the frosting is pure sugar.
Yeah. All right, so what are we pulling today? Doing all price ranges, single family, all sizes, all construction, and what's been going on since January of 2020. So let's see, last year, March, maybe 1 year. What is today, July? July?
We're in August.
335 was our median sales price for single family homes. Now we are up to,
We went over 400, I think.
405 was what we posted for 405 is our median sales price for July. So nothing but inclining. That's because the interest rates are down to 3%. I think even Vince had them below 3%, 2.75. I think he had shown me last week. So it's doing nothing but causing the prices to climb. I am noticing homes for sale increased by a couple hundred, from 3,800 to almost 4,100. And we closed less in July than we did in June. Not that much though. 3,566, we went down to 3,375. So whether that's discouraged buyers or whatnot, last year I think we saw the same.
Well, can you just do the new construction?
Not on InfoSpark. InfoSpark only tracks all the data in the MLS. So new construction would be probably a title request. Now, new construction that lists in the MLS, that'll show up, but that doesn't include all of it. So it's usually, right now, I'd probably say less than 10% of their inventory, because that inventory, it's direct sales. So they're just closing that county. So county would be able to give you that number though, because that would show a 2021 build date. So if you just ask title for all the 2021 sales, that would be all the 2021 build sales, not all the 2021 sales.
So when it closes, it doesn't capture it here, even when it closes.
This is all resale on the MLS. Yeah, just because we don't mix the sales. Now you can go in there and pull it in real list though.
I mean, it says new construction under the construction type.
Yeah, but it has to be listed in MLS as new construction.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
like ready to build.
Yeah, so it's got to be check mark new construction and built and listed in the MLS. If it's not, which a lot of the builders, KB,
Right.
Lennar, all those guys, they'll just list it to the general public and close it.
Right.
So that's why our files are a little bit easier to input too, because we don't have to, go with the MLS guidelines on those ones. So, on that note, if you did want to know new home sales, you could go into what we call Realist. Right here.
What about new home source?
It's not going to give you the closed sales. It's just going to give you what builders are building. If they have standing inventory, we're trying to sync those as far as reliability.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count on it. You can go, let's see, quick search.
Is there a keyword?
No, I'm looking at it sideways too. All right. I think you can put the build date on there. Either sales information.
It's all right, I don't want to sidetrack you, I just wondered.
That's okay. There should be a way to do build date, but the easiest one is just contact title, and they'll get you all of the 2021 builds and closing dates on those. But there should be a way to do it in Realist. And in the other one, which is
There's a builder's update app, I don't know what it is.
Remind's the other one, where you can get that data and mine it to use for your whatever you would use a new home sale prospecting tool for. But that's another class, Danny. I did Remind already before, but you can go in there and you can alter your searches. And Remind and Realist are a little bit basic. Remind's a little bit more map orientated, so you can pull 2020 builds, 2021 builds, and just have it mapped on the Remind map, and it'll show you what's closed in those scenarios. All right, anything else on updated closed sales, active new supplies? You guys can check that every day right up here in the top corner, or every month we post it. Still short supply, 1.3 months. All right, so today I wanted to dive into Propertybase. So this is where we store all of our documents. So I wanted to go through real quickly opening. It was probably the easiest storage system that I could find where you guys could still integrate and use it as your CRM and transaction coordinator. So it's basically automated once you get set up in here. So if you haven't set up in here, your settings tools up here, that's where you can put your email and do all of your pictures and all of that if you wanted to use it. But this is kind of our intra office where we communicate with each other on our transactions. Okay. The beauty of this one is your calendar. So I always say sync it as soon as possible. So you can subscribe to whatever ones you want. Training, you get the classes, you'll know when tomorrow's coming for classes, any of these colored ones. But the important one that I would like for you guys to use is the red one, which is your transaction. Okay, so Even if you didn't want to know what's going on in the office, that's fine. It's your option. And you didn't want to know about training classes or what type of events we're having. Group is if you're part of a team. There should be a group link where you guys can share your calendars with each other on the group. But transactions probably the most important. And if you subscribe to it, it will put everything that you input into your transaction into your Google Calendar, your iCalendar, whatever you're using. I reiterate using that because once you input your dates, we're going to run through that on the transaction, your due diligence dates, your appraisal dates. It helps you stay organized on your transaction. So your life of escrow, once you open it and drop your contract in, will automatically prompt in your calendar. And that week that you've got to complete that. You've got to complete your HOA documents. You've got to complete your, like I said, your inspections, your appraisals, your loan contingencies. They'll all pop up in your calendar. So first things first is make sure your calendar is synced with your transaction so that you guys get those and then they appear in your personal calendar. It's probably the most important thing to learn today on that one. Let me show you how easy it is under transactions. So real quickly, when you hit transactions, it's going to show everything that you've got going on. Now this is everything in the office, so this is going to be a bit confusing for you guys. So we're just going to go to add a transaction, and I'm just going to run a test one. Okay. So when you get to the front page, it's going to ask you. Most of the time, it's going to be residential. You aren't going to manage an apartment building, so you're not going to need that one. I need to actually remove it. Commercial, if you guys are approved, and referral only. So referral only is if you're receiving. That's going to be for if you've showed a rental and you referred that client to the other brokerage, you'll want to open that there. Okay. So if you're receiving $500 or $600 on a referral for giving that tenant to the property manager or the listing agent, that's where you would open your referral only. Same with if you referred a listing or a buyer to somebody and you're just receiving 25, 30, 40%, whatever that referral agreement is, you would just open that there. Because all we need in that is the referral agreement or the basically proof that you referred that client to the other agent so that we can pay it through that portal. Okay. So that one's the simple one. Most of the time you're going to hit residential. Then it's going to prompt you for more questions. Is it a sale or listing, or is it a lease or lease listing? So lease listing is if you're listing a property for lease. Most of the time you're going to be a sale or a sell listing. Does everybody understand the difference in those two? Let's see if we can questions here. The big mistake that we get, is you'll miss this referral only and go right into residential. So try not to make that mistake because we have to back you guys out and do it all over, because this will prompt more documents than you actually need. This is the easiest one to collect your referral fee on a tenant if you're just referring a tenant. So just don't forget, referral only is the tenant one. Okay. Even though you get to residential and you get lease or listing, because if you go to residential and you are negotiating a lease, generally you're getting paid on that entire lease. So that's why I still have that option in here. Otherwise, I would take it away. So for anything sale or sell listings, you're just going to click sale or sell listings. Okay? So it's going to prompt you guys which documents. Now I have different parts of the transaction. Most of the time, I get it. We're not even going to open Propertybase until we have an actual contract, right? But if you are starting to build clients, this is not a bad place to store them and get your dates into your calendar, because say you met Joe this week, you meet Jim next week, and they're all looking to buy in October. Well, if you put their information in and you put their dates, it will prompt you guys to touch base with them, kind of like your CRM. Like, oh, well, I got to keep in touch with this guy, right? So if you did do that and you wanted to store your clients in here, that's not a bad way to do it. If you're actively showing properties, that's where you can start there. But like I said, most of the time, most people don't open this till they get a valid signed agreement, right? Because you guys are running your own CRMs. But if you do want to use it as a CRM, just put them in there. Put Jim in this week, put Joe in next week, and you can put the dates that you want to contact them. I'll show you. Let's say he's a buyer. Select client. Let's put Joe in. Joe Bob.
I was working with Joe Bob. I hope you're not trying to take him.
Where are you?
It says we need an account setup code to set it up.
Okay.
That's a new-
That should have been emailed to you. If not, I can have Bonnie resend it to you. Because once you got over, I saw your name in the system, so
Okay.
you should have gotten a prompt. If you don't, just let us know so we can start it all over. All right, so let's create a transaction for Joe Bob. Now we have our transaction page. Yay, really easy, right? Now whenever you go in, this transaction page will be open, but it's labeled Joe Bob. Okay, so it's just a client, it's a buyer. When you get to address, you might want to adjust it. That's why I say most people wait till they get to contract so they have an actual address that they can type in. But if you know your client, this is where you can go at it. Now the first part of this, so since we're at start, which is green, it's going to highlight what we need. So anytime your top tabs are orange, that means you're missing documents. Okay. Really easy. Let's fill them out. When did you start working with your client? Well, I started today. So, will anybody be getting a referral? No, it's my client. I'm taking 100% of whatever I make off that client. Okay. And now it's no longer orange. Documents, real easy. What's always required? How many have you guys all done your post licensing? Post licensing? Okay.
Yeah.
So always first is your duty zone. Second, residential disclosure, right? So you might as well just get them signed whenever you can. Most of us wait till contract time. So duty zone, contract, here's your residential disclosure. The listing agreement says that, hey, I gave them a residential disclosure. Purchase agreement doesn't, but just remember buyers and sellers always get that residential disclosure agreement or disclosure guide. And it's just to guide them through all the disclosures that you guys are going to bring through that transaction. Broker compensation of invoice. If you guys are charging transaction fees, like I said, ours here is that $100. But if you have additional ones for teams or if you're charging additional, you would put those in here. But if you're not, and you're paying all the fees yourself,
That's not linked to transaction on the MLS, right? Transaction list.
not perfect. They're trying to integrate with Lone Wolf right now, which is the owner of Transaction Desk. But integrations are always tough. So Zip Forms was integrated with this, and then we left Zip Forms and we went to Transaction Desk. They're trying to.
That'd be nice.
No, they're going to give us signing options as far as attaching documents. The documents always change. We store them in here for you guys, so if you need a quick document to fill out, you can fill it out and turn it into a PDF. And that's in.
I think you just click the hot link, right? But like residential disclosure.
Yeah, you just click the actual this part right here, and it should pop up.
Say,
But anyways, when you go to required docs, there's two options. You can attach a document or request exception. So if you're not using the BCA or the broker compensation invoice, just put not using. Otherwise, you just attach it and it will open this form where you can just upload and you just drag it in there or find the file on your computer. Real easy. I usually keep two windows open and just drag the forms over in from the file. Okay. Go back. All right. Document's pretty easy, right? Once you attach them, that orange will disappear. Showing homes. We'll prompt a new calendar. But what changes is when you go to contract. Okay. So when you click contract, it lights up everything because they want to know which property you're selling. So it's really easy. Once you put a property in, you can either find it in the MLS. You just put the MLS number in there and it'll auto prompt everything for that property for you guys because it's connected to our MLS, or just enter basic information. So I always like to use 123 Apple, 123 Apple. State, city. And let's just use the office code.
too many ones.
And let's use the median sale price number because that property. Okay, so now the property is set. Either you went in and you put the MLS number or you type in the address, whatever's easier for you guys. But then it also needs to know who our seller is. If you go to MLS, it should auto prompt it. If not, just add them in here. And Bob, no relation to Joe Bob. Add, easy. And seller's agent. Annie, you get to be the seller's agent.
Cool. Need a payday.
And so the only thing that really auto prompts that is required is email. Because if you guys are going to do a share desk, which I'll show you real quick. A share desk is if you need to share disclosures with the seller's agent, you can just do it directly out of here. It's real easy if you have their email in there. It would just automatically email SRPDs, CIC disclosures, so you just have them all in one file. Okay. Danny, what are you, Danny Lambert at Med or something like that?
Yeah, put that little T on the end.
Oh, look, here you are. You're actually already here.
Good looking fella out there.
So if it's another agent, if it's an agent we work with also in the past from Keller Williams, Realty One, we try to store them in there so you can just click on their picture and their face. And since we're in a contract, you should have an escrow overnight, so you should know where it's going. Whether it is title company. You got to know it. Maybe the next option is the top one. Do that. Do the underlay with the intent. Use the lane, You just use on contacts, right? Alright, basic info is the next one's orange, just going real quick. Yeah. It's how you keep everything organized, right? Is the basic info. So when you pick a contract, which is due by law in Nevada, how many days? So there's 5 calendar days. So I've got a 5 business day pause because we're not gonna check it or audit it until it's Monday or Friday. So, but by law, the state of Nevada, it's 5 calendar days. Your executed contract is to be in my possession, and this is where it's considered in my possession when you guys upload it into there. Okay? When was the contract executed? That was today. Okay, what is the closing date? How long is your due diligence period? Okay. What are you guys doing? 7, 10 days now? It used to be like 14 days, but nowadays, well, because you gotta be competitive on your offers right now, so I think the norm's like 7 or 10 days to get a second thing. So save that, it's gonna put those dates into your calendar. How long is your appraisal contingency? And depending on what you guys put, I always ask for like 3 weeks, because I never know how long it's gonna be. So that'll go in your calendar. How long is the loan contingency? I usually get 1 week after the appraisal contingency, that's 20 days. What is the closing date of the contract? So, not exactly, because you still have a walkthrough after the loan contingency. So you want it a few days after, plus the lender's got to get the loan docs together. So whatever the lender's timeframes after loan approval, generally 72 hours they get loan docs out, and then you've got a 2-day right of decision period. So I put it a week out after your loan contingency or your lender contingency, unless your lender's awesome and they say, yeah, we'll close 2 days after. So typically it's 30-day close, right? I like closing midweek. So if you can, put it on a Wednesday, but in this case, 30 days out. I mean, it seems like you got that Friday to tie up your hands if you can't make Thursday. Yeah. And let's go, what is the ownership status of the property? It is just a conventional retail. REO foreclosures. The reason those questions are in there is so that it prompts other documents that you need. So if it is REO, then you have REO disclosures that need to be taxed. So that's why I asked you what type of property it is. Okay, but right now we're closing conventional properties. When we switch to short sales REOs, there's additional disclosures. This one's always important. What is property built for 1978? We're going to say no. But if you did say yes, it's going to prompt your lead-based disclosure in the required document. Okay. So nada. Is it an HOA CIC? Yeah, it usually is. If not, it puts away that disclosure off of the required docs, so you would say no. Which are the type of property I like for. And then, what is the contractor price? Well, is normally good. What type of financing is the buyer using? Why do you ask? Because there's other disclosures if they're using VA or FHA, VA or USDA. Seller owner financing, if you got into that a few months ago, we do it again. But if you're doing owner carries, it will prompt the forms for the owner carry again. So if we want to select what kind of financing to use, cash is always king, right? Like documents for all of us. But most of the time it's going to be conventional third party, which means like Wells Fargo, Real Lending, Real Mortgage, any of those numbers. All right, so dates and info are out. It still has more questions, so you can ignore these. And then we'll do it with ours. All right, so now we're looking at dates and info. And start date, and then due diligence date will automatically prompt in your calendar. So you guys know that we get things done. Any questions on dates?
It's assumed if you're sync, right?
Yes.
What happens to
Then you won't get the update in your iCalendar or your Google Calendar or Outlook calendar.
yeah.
It'll just be in here, so you have to log into your Propertybase to check the dates every day versus just waking up and seeing what you need that week. Okay? So that is the beauty of the calendar. And then there's always this button here where you can add a date. Well, what type of date should I add? You can do whatever you want. Skipping over the document, there's a checklist page right here. So if you wanted to use any of these or add future items, I know I'm always bad about anniversaries or sale anniversaries or 6-month check-ins after they've moved in. You can put those in here and set the due date. This automatically gives you dates that are really bad. Like if you wanted to add in negotiate with theirs for the buyer. So you generally want that done before the due diligence date. And in this instance, our due diligence date is done by the 26th. So we want to add that in so that function on the calendar also. I'm sorry, I took the wrong one. Open the home for inspection after you set it with inspection that day to go in. And negotiate with her if you want to have that day as the 26th, which is the due diligence day. So the more dates you add, the more it goes into your calendar. On this page. Okay, you all concept right? So when your calendar syncs, it'll just tell you, that week that's usually how to do that. It's beautiful. When you start juggling 5 transactions, 6 transactions, this thing helps so much for you. Your address, what the due date is, and that's got to be ordered exactly. Okay? Same with closing. Good for managing your closing. You know when what's coming up in September. What would be beautiful is seeing this whole thing lit up. When you go to your regular calendar, you have several transactions in there to find out. Clean your makeup on. All right, so document, we kind of went through that. So when we answer those real quick questions when we input this, it prompts everything that you need in a document. You went through that, you click it, you attach the document, or you request an exemption. So right off the bat, you're going to want your duties owed in there, and your purchase agreement. By this time, you should have the residential disclosure guide signed, so you don't want to drop that in. And then everything else can happen later as you get them when it's money received, preliminary title reports. You said yes to HOA, so that's where it's prompted that you have this HOA and receipts required. All of those and how you answer the questions. So. pretty self-explanatory. Alright. The other thing is you have there's a checklist, so go through it, add whatever you want, but your expenses. So this one's important for your CPA at the end of the year because you can put your transactions in your expenses and have record of what you did. So say it took you 2 weeks to get Joe Bob into escrow, and you drove to North Las Vegas 6 times. How far is North Las Vegas? From here. So 40 miles. So let's just say 30 miles. 30 miles, and you went 6 times. That is how many miles? And you still gotta go back for inspections, right? Like everything before we forget. You went 6 times just to get the property, right? Yeah. And 80 miles? Yeah. You have different ways to track your miles, it's great, but I was, you do the taxes on what's the first thing you're counting. I mean, miles is driving the vehicle. So. And then any other transaction expenses. So if you were buying HOA docs or you were buying an inspection, buying home warranty, you guys can put those on. You understand expenses. It prints out the end of the year for you guys. It's pretty cool. You know, all right, notes and history. So as far as communicating, this is our time limit. So as you input things, it documents it, tells us what time it was. When we communicate with us on transactions, it notes it, it says what we discussed. This is all for our compliance with the division. So we can say, no, on this date we did that, or this date it was canceled, or this date earnest money was released, things like that. It's nice to document every time that you do something in that for us, so that we have a transaction. And it notes you discussing things back and forth. Okay. Pretty easy. Now, with all that being said, any questions on inputting the start of transaction? But you see when I put the property in? So when I click property, it changed from Joe Bob being just my buyer to a contract, because you went into contract. So when you go to contract and you put property, it will automatically change it from Joe Bob to the property that you're working on, so you can stay working on that. Especially when you input the MLS number. These are all your tags. So when we initiated this, it was Joe Bob. That's the buyer. And we were at the start. And we showed them properties, but then we got a contract. Okay? So when you make a contract, it's property in orange. What's the property? And that's when we filled in what it was, the all the info. How do you start it? You just hit property, and you go to edit property. Actually, for the address, or you can search the MLS right there. So if you know the MLS number, just click it, type the MLS number, and it'll auto-populate everything for that property for you.
MLS number, just put the MLS number, search it, it'll find it, you click it, auto-populate. Easy. And then it'll jump to contact, and the escrow officer is that in the back. So anytime it's orange, that means you're missing stuff, so that's the stuff you're working on. Following the transaction. All right, so say you get your inspection, right? And the buyer decides he doesn't want to move forward, he wants to go take him shopping for more property. I don't know what's broken. There's a water leak in the roof and the seller didn't want to fix it. Okay, we're gonna cancel. Everybody agrees, we're all gonna cancel. So, summary has a little nice little button here. Just cancel the transaction. Okay? What happens when you click it?
I'm never used it. I don't know anything.
So, two questions. Yes, I have an executed contract to terminate it, or no, I should cancel this transaction. So, no would be if it was just Joe Bob and you needed to cancel it out of the contract. But if you have an executed legal agreement that requires proper legal determination, you would click yes, I have an executed contract. And it is popular. Document and date. Here's the question. When was the contract terminated? Today. Are you receiving compensation for working this transaction? This is where I need to know if I'm collecting a fee. So if you guys charge your client a retainer fee that needs to be collected through the office, that way we know we need to bill them. Does everybody understand that one? If there's no fee, then you guys are back to square one trying to make a commission, right? And then it's going to ask for a couple documents. By this time, you would have your duties owed in already, or right in your purchase agreement, right? Now we need termination of representation, which is your cancellation agreement. It's going to instruct us what happened to the earnest money, where it went, and now you're covered as far as your file. Which we eliminated any need for earnest money. So cancellation addendum and how the money was released are the two things we care about. So that we know that if the earnest money is tied up in escrow, that we may have mediation so forth. Any questions on canceling? Absolutely.
I don't, you don't want to do anything, you just tell me later, but you put something out, you get some dollars, you get into the event, regulation. You can do that.
Not if your buyer brokerage agreement stipulated that they give you advance fees that aren't applied to finalizing the sale. So you can charge retainer fee that's non-refundable, as long as in writing and they understand what you're doing for the purposes of showing, for instance, I'm just showing you property for this.
I don't even want to go there, but I mean, in my career,
Most-
advance stuff, where I like to.
And most buyers won't pay it.
Yeah.
So let me know if you have a way to get a buyer to pay it. We'll make $1 million.
So if you have this kind of announcement that you have a vote today, you have 5 days.
For our agreement, there's a $225 fine. Now, if the division comes in and audits, it's $1,000 per offense. So I'm trying to avoid the $1,000 because per offense means they can go back your entire career, I think up to 5 years, and fine you for every time you didn't turn that file in if they found one. For the most part, quality control from MLS will be the first people to catch you. And then they'll throw a red flag on you, turn you into the division, then the division will watch you, and then they'll start finding you and checking things. I'm trying to avoid all that. So 5 calendar days is the Nevada law 6465, I think 653, 645, 653. Our policy procedure is 5 business days. That way, or it will automatically assess a fine. So if you open a contract on the 9th, yeah, then you're passionate about it. If you didn't. And it's not hard to drag and drop your purchase contract. And, so you just want to make sure you're on top of it. Otherwise, it's 225. But I'm saving you guys because at that point you're asking me to lie to the division. And that's what it's costing me, $225. Because when the division says, "Hey, was this turned in 5 days?" and we're going to assess a $1,000 fine, I'm saving you that as well. Okay. So after transactions, if you need to go back to transactions that you've already closed, like what I like is tax season every year to do touch base with every client that I closed with last year. I send them all a BPC. You need your kind of your reporting statement. Most of them do. They don't realize it's really a civil CPA, and usually it's sometime between April and October when they're doing their taxes. Or up like January through October. But if you hit them up in January, just say, "Hey, let me know." That way they stay in communication with you guys and you guys keep that relationship on with them. And they realize that you have all of your documents that they could ever need for their own. But you can always go back in here and find the stuff. And you can sort by over 30 days, next 30 days, 31 days. This is kind of how we audit you guys. We just see what's coming up in the next 30 days, 40 days. All right, and then when you cancel transactions, they'll all be listed here. When you cancel them, you can go back and do this. And then reports, this is where you get your closing histories for if you need your spend history, you just click on that and it'll give you guys. If you're inputting your respective you can go and your production history. So you guys know how many you closed, you just put that in the table with the history. So yeah. All right, that's intro to transactions. You guys want me to go over anything else right now as far as learning in the, to me, the most important part is your transaction and the convenience. Now on this page, quick learn, this tab, down under packages and overview, there's videos that you can revisit. Everything that I just ran through with you, if you want, if you're more comfortable reviewing videos, there's that page of YouTube videos that'll run you through the tabs and how to update your files. I think that's it. Any questions? questions? I wanted to get the how to run a transaction and how to cancel a transaction properly. Because sometimes the transactions you guys just leave them open, but if you escrow's collected money, it's still an open transaction. And you need to show that it's been closed. That's the part that a lot of people miss. Is that I need to know that it's been closed, or else we're still tracking that as an open transaction. Okay. You see any questions on that? Nope. All right. Well, if you guys have no questions, have a lovely week. Make lots of money. And call me if you have any questions. All right. Thank you.